Hello, this is Petamani, and this is my second field report for the semester, as part of my independent study and my thesis development for the decolonized self. Today I'll be discussing genealogy tools that I've been using and that are available to all people who wish to do similar research. And I am today reporting from New Orleans. And I have been staying in Mississippi, about an hour outside of the city. This is a recent development, and I'll provide more details about that in a couple of weeks when I do the segment on the Brookhaven archive visit. There have been some changes. I have been following up a mystery here in New Orleans that's actually quite intriguing, having to do with a relative of mine who was buried here for some reason, and they erected a statue of him in the town square in Brookhaven. And after some initial investigations to find out if the burial plot and everything were correct, I started researching some other aspects of this person's life. So I'm very excited. That research is ongoing. I'll have information about that in the next 2 weeks, which will explain why I found myself in New Orleans when I was staying in Mississippi. Long story, but with a happy ending. To begin with, for today, I'd like to just say that the very first place to go for me in terms of genealogy is right to my elders and people in my family, both so that I can look at their prior research. For instance, this was a genealogy tool that was put together by my maternal grandfather. And it's really great. I mean, even though it's from before the 1980s, there's a lot of great information in here. The tracing back more of our Swedish roots, because Anderson is on the Swedish side of things. And they would have, for instance, marriages, children, and begats. There's lots in here, so there's a lot for me to double check against what I'm finding online and other research. In fact, this family, and it even goes back to which is really great. One of the original ancestors who came over from Sweden, and his name changed, and I think his name was Eric Eriksson, and then he became Anderson. So starting there, getting research from family members has been a big piece of it. That includes stories. I've done a couple of oral history recordings with a couple of my uncles, one of whom is now deceased, so I'm very happy to have gotten that interview. Another is an audio recording that I recently completed and am in the process of editing. So stories from other family members, I think, are very, very powerful, whatever form you might find them in, whether they're oral or whether they're written. And here's a really great case in point. Some other artifacts that you can get obviously from relatives, for instance, is photos. Like here's my grandpa. This is my grandpa who grew up in Brookhaven, Mississippi. Here's some of his family from way back in the day. And what's really nice is somebody bothered to list the names on the back. That's pretty great. We're happy about that. I have a lot of great photos of my grandfather as he served in the military and was very proud of his service. He was a military doctor, but he did. I think for the Air Force, but I think he did fly like 9 missions, and he did something very heroic and got a medal for it. Even though he was a doctor, the return rate was not great for these pilots that were going out. He did fly, I think, like 9 missions or something. But the catalyst for my being in Mississippi was really this family lineage, which dates back. This is the Johnsons, and this is the one tree that I've been following. And one really amazing, see, I have it right here. One really amazing artifact that came into my possession. It's like I just might have is from my grandfather's funeral. This was the program for my grandfather's funeral. He died when I was in high school back in the 80s. This is my first trip to Mississippi. It was my first real awareness that we had family in Mississippi. I was raised up north for the most part, so it didn't really have an association with us being Southerners so much. Texas, yes. But what's really great about finding this gem is that within the program for the service for my grandfather, my grandfather had written a story about his father. And so I now actually have in my grandfather's writing a story, a very powerful story about his father, and it includes a time when John Harvey Johnson, my great grandfather, had to stand down the KKK dragon in that area because they were harassing people. So there's interesting tools there that media, artifact stories, prior research that I've been able to collect from families. So that gave me a good start, and I brought a number of photos from my grandfather's collection down here, and he has a number of films too. He shot a lot of 16 or 8 millimeter when he was younger, mostly football games that my dad and his brothers were involved in. But one of my inquiries as part of my research is going to be if there's a place where we can donate those artifacts to a library in Brookhaven for continuity and for archival purposes. The other thing are online tools. There's some really great online tools, especially nowadays, that one can use and that I've been using. The first of which is I went ahead and I sent off, and this is in my prior video, DNA to the Ancestry site, Ancestry.com. And I also sent off a DNA sample to 23andMe. The reason for doing this is 23andMe was tracing the matrilineal line. It's a slightly different DNA test. They have to test the mitochondrial. And also 23andMe has a medical, they can tell you if you're a carrier for a prior condition. I thought that was fascinating. So I decided to do that. And as it turned out, I'm not a carrier for anything. And it was nice to have both the pictures of my father's and my mother's lineage, because it gave me a more complete picture of my genetic inheritance, which I'll go over in more detail at another date. Another really wonderful tool that I found is a site called Find a Grave. And Find a Grave is fascinating to me because it's a very simple website that allows users to upload photos of tombstones from graveyards. And my first assumption was that the families were doing this. They would go take a picture and they would upload it to the site. What I'm coming to realize the more I research this is it's not always family, because I was going to email somebody. I was like, is this right? Because here in New Orleans, I was going to email and say, did you get the right grave? Because I don't quite understand why my ancestor was buried in a grave with someone else's name, for instance, last name. So that started this research here in New Orleans, which was the timing of my being in New Orleans kind of perfect to do it. Anyway, so Find a Grave is actually not only family members. It is some people, this is their hobby. They go out and they take pictures of tombstones and they upload it to Find a Grave and they put their name on it and they have an account on the site. And some of them keep track of how many they photograph, and they do it for different reasons. And it's really kind of interesting that people, that's what they do. They in their spare time. That's their hobby, and I'm really thankful that that is their hobby. So 23andMe also does tree mapping. What I decided to do instead of 23andMe was to use Ancestry.com. I just like the interface better. And they have this academy that you can attend, which I'm attending this semester. A lot of really great informative videos. So on these sites, which mostly, like I said, I've been working with Ancestry.com, so most of my references are to that. You can go through lots of public records, military, marriage, birth, death, ship manifests, people, if you have immigrant family members that came through Ellis Island, census records, property purchases, even passport applications. So a lot of this stuff actually is pushed toward the user As you input data, it'll say, oh, is this the person you're looking for? Is it related to this person? Do you want to take a look at these records? Is this, and so it gives you lots of hints and things to go through in order to build out your tree. And so what I've done for the purpose of this project is I've just focused mainly on the 7th-generation Johnson lineage through my father, because it appeared very quickly within my search, and it did so because it's military, and that was part of the decolonization process, is really kind of pulling out those stories and examining them. What's great about these online sites, especially with the Ancestry.com, is it connects you, if you do the DNA or not, it will connect you with cousins. And you can look at their research, share resources, share information from your tree. All of that is based on your comfort level, you don't have to make your tree public. And in fact, the public trees don't even list living people. So there is a level of privacy there that's great. And then it's awesome to know that there are other online collaborators, because it makes the work go so much more quickly. The last thing that of course, there's public archives and records, local libraries. The other thing are personal memories. I've taken the time to write down a lot of personal memories for myself. These in of themselves providing clues and inspiration for further research. So that's my report for today on genealogy tools. I'm continuing to work on my mystery here in New Orleans, which you'll be hearing about very soon. Thank you very much for Michelle Mater, my thesis advisor. Thank you very much for supporting me in this work, and have a good day.